By the mid-1800s, we see a major shift in the way our economy began to work. People were no longer totally self-sufficient. That means they could not produce and supply and meet all of their needs just within their home. So that means before this point, many people were self-sufficient. They farmed for their food. They, they were able to get anything that they needed just themselves. This didn't happen. So at this point, we see that shift where people are now just specializing and focusing on one product and then buying everything else from other places and other people. So this really begins to change our economy because people were specializing, that specialization, again, focusing on one particular area and then buying everything else. This is going to allow our current system, the way our economy is based, it's a capitalist system where it's all about competition and private ownership of business. You really need to kind of get a grasp on that. So private ownership of business and competition is going to drive our market. But what we do see happen because of this is that almost everyone's standard of living rises. So basically it means that their quality of life, most everybody is going to get a little better. We see many inventions that are also going to improve people's lives. First of all, Charles Goodyear. Some of these names will sound very familiar to you. Charles Goodyear comes up with a vulcanized rubber. Before this point, rubber was, if it got too warm, like 80 degrees, it would melt, and if it got too cold, say anything below about 40, it would break. So this vulcanized rubber was a more durable product. I.M. Singer, as in Singer Sewing Machines, is going to invent a sewing machine that will allow us to sew on a much larger scale and faster scale. Samuel Morse really revolutionizes communication in our country. He develops the telegraph and the system that is used on that called Morse code. This is a system of dashes and dots that is going to communicate. It's going to travel over a wire so that it communicates much faster, faster than any mode of transportation at this point. Because previous to this, prior to this, your fastest mode of communication was your fastest mode of transportation. So for the first time, we could communicate faster than we could actually move from place to place. With that, we also see transportation changes. Robert Fulton is going to come up with steam-powered ships. This is going to allow them to not just go downstream, but move upstream as well. So when we start building canals after the Erie Canal was completed, we see a whole canal building era, specifically in the New England area where you had more access to these bodies of water, so we could create man-made bodies of water from those. But later, as time moves on, we take that steam-powered idea and we apply it to railroads. So we also see the growth of railroads, and eventually those railroads will even replace the canal building era that had become so popular. Major agricultural changes began to happen as well, because as people moved to midwestern parts of our nation and then eventually even further west, they need new kind of technologies that will help them to farm these larger plots of land and soil that was very different. Because we did have a lot of farmland, because remember what we have done with Native Americans is just continue to push them westward, so we now have access to their lands as well. John Deere, as in Deere, John Deere is a company today, is going to come up with steel plows. This is going to, again, allow these farmers to plow up this very rocky soil. So that's going to be very important for these farmers and allow them to do that work much more efficiently. And finally, Cyrus McCormick. Cyrus McCormick comes up with what's called the mechanical reaper. This allows one man to do the work of 5. So again, it allows them to work a much larger plot of land in about the same amount of time, which makes it actually possible for our people and for farmers to move and to make it work in that western, in the Midwest, and then eventually on further west. So this is going to be all very key for the development, the westward development of our country.